was my boyfriend, and then that was the truth.
And that is the truth, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how was the response to that?
Well, people didn't really blink an eye. Oh, how was Toronto? So it was great. We had dinner. Okay, carried on.
It's interesting. It's kind of like another instance of you coming out and nothing changing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think one of the things is me deciding that it's all right. I think a lot of time, once again, I think I give a lot more credits to other people than I should have given those credits to myself. I think it's one of those circumstances that if I'm okay with it, then who cares about what others are going to say? I think also times are changing. I do feel that the whole LGBT issues are more, I guess, welcome in the sense that right now people, have more sense, understanding towards the LGBT community. And then especially even those orthopedic surgery or even just medicine, I guess, in general, it's a little bit of it still has a lot of work to do. I wouldn't say that they're outdated, but in some community, they are still very sort of have this patriarchy values. But I guess things are changing. And then, people right now, it's 2020. And then I think the LGBT issue shouldn't be, I think it's still relevant. I think we're still fighting for a lot of these equalities. But I do think that right now people are more accepting.
Yeah. You were talking a little bit about not feeling like people were identifying you as gay. Mm-hmm. Do you find that there are other people who are visibly, outwardly queer in the medical community that makes it a little bit more of a normal thing? What's your experience of feeling like you've been represented?
Yeah, I do think that there are definitely other colleagues or gay colleagues who are sort of paving the way towards a more understanding community. Unfortunately, I have yet to find my way to sort of contribute in a significant way, but I do see my other colleagues being very assertive and being very forward about who they are. And then I do think that it's shaping how people see us in a way. But I also want to stress that, there's no one way of being gay, right? Like, I mean, people are so multifaceted, not just because I like football that I cannot be gay, right? I do think that there are sexual orientation is just one part of who we are as people. So I don't think that we should corner people into one characteristics. But just to give you an example, actually, last year when I was at UBC, I had the pleasure to get to know this resident who's in ortho, who is gay, and then who is in his final year of graduations. And then he successfully completed all the exam and was, to graduate. And then during the graduation dinner, he got to give a speech in front of all the graduating class, all the staff. And then he brought his boyfriend. And then during his speech, multiple times, he thanked his boyfriend for being there, for being sort of his moral supports. So that's actually a very sweet moment. So he did thank his boyfriend in a very non-apologizing kind of way. And then I find it to be very, very heartwarming to witness that, to be part of it also. Yeah.
And just the idea of someone standing up and speaking in front of everyone, in front of colleagues, in front of hundreds of people who know you professionally, and to be very open about exactly who you are, and then to have the members of the audience, whomever connect with that, to see someone taking what they might feel like is a step that they're not ready to take. It sets an example.
Yeah, absolutely.
It shows you that this person did it and everyone was fine with it, and so I could do it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how has it been for you now being in a nice, stable relationship and getting more comfortable in your position as an orthopedic surgeon, being more willing to be your own advocate? What are your next steps? What do you hope for yourself?
I think right now I like to have basically I would like to have a stable positions in which I can fulfill sort of my professional duties. And then I think having that stability or that certainty of, I can build towards a more stable relationship, and then also more of a stable goal. I just think that right now I'm still living in this transitional period where I'm still sort of looking out for the next sort of jobs, and if I don't have a job, should I find a temporary one? So I think right now, although I am gaining more insights into who I am and then what my abilities are, in whether those abilities are professional or personal, I do think that the circumstances are still very uncertain. So I do like to have more certainties in my life at this moment, in order to almost implant, all those all those skills, if you want, that I've acquired, that now I'm ready. I'm finally ready. I think I've learned sort of a lot of coping skills, coping mechanisms to be like, okay, you know what, now I'm ready to settle down, to move on to the next step. Yeah.
So first of all, finding a stable position that will solidify a lot of things, and with that, a lot of other opportunities will come for you to fully show the world what you've been acquiring and practicing and gaining expertise in all of these years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today, for sharing these really intimate, vulnerable details about yourself and your life, and finding a job that is one of the banes of everyone's existence. But I have full confidence that you're going to be there. And what's the highest position that an orthopedic surgeon can have?
Oh, please. No, there's no higher. Just get a job. Just get a job as orthopedic.
Just get a job.
Yeah.
Well, I'm certain that you're going to find your place in the medical world and also in the world at large.
Oh, thank you so much, Stan. I love it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Beyond Asian Stories of the Third Culture. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We have a preview of our next episode coming up for you. Before we roll it, you can find any resources referenced today in the show notes. If you resonated with what you heard on the show today, follow our Facebook page to get updates on what we're working on, and our Facebook group to add your voice to the conversation. Got the perfect third culture Asian guest for us? Get in touch on our website, beyondasian.com, or simply email us at beyondasianpodcast@gmail.com. We'll be back with another story soon. In the meantime, you can subscribe to our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, and nearly all your regular podcast watering holes. We are a growing podcast and therefore need your support and reviews to keep bringing you more stories like this. I'd like to thank Miho Lin Soon, our creative strategist and lead designer, Chicho Coppola, our 3D designer, Rami Farajpur, our developer, and Alexandra Heller, our director of marketing, for helping to bring this podcast to life. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our growing community of courageous guests who have generously shared their stories with us. Beyond Asian Stories of the Third Culture is hosted and produced by me, your Chinese-Canadian third culture kid in Berlin, Sen Jan. Here's what we've got in store for you next time.
It was absolutely terrifying to interview my parents because we had never talked about these topics before. They had to be vulnerable with me, and that's something that is extremely difficult for them because it's not really usual to talk about your feelings.
After so much unimaginable trauma from the Vietnam War, how does a young Dutch-Vietnamese woman begin healing the emotional rifts in her family? In episode 6, I'm speaking with Jenny Lee and Oriana Calcines in the Netherlands about their documentary, The Scars of War. and how their third culture perspectives help them to find each other and embrace their identities as global citizens.
I made this documentary to start the conversation with my parents and heal our family somehow. I never would have imagined that it would have this big of an impact on everyone.
Jenny was very nervous to talk to her parents, but I was very nervous just making sure everything went well. You don't really get a lot of shots at this.
I'm going to own this because this is my story and this is who I am, and as difficult and as ugly it sometimes was, this is who I am and I can't deny it. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about having this third culture thing. You get to decide what that means to you.
To get the most out of the next episode, go to the show notes to watch this 27-minute documentary.